Hello, Blue Jays, and welcome to The Nest, stories about life after Manor College. I am your host, Kelly Pfeiffer, Vice President of Marketing Communications, and this is the best part of my day. My hope is that this podcast will encourage, inform, and inspire you, making you feel like at Manor College, you belong here always. Before we get to today's guest, it is time for a segment of the show I like to call Did You Know? Today's Did You Know is particularly exciting because it's about one of my favorite people here at Manor College. So, did you know that the best coffee at Manor College isn't really found in a cafe or in the cafeteria, but it's at the front desk? For over 40 years, Ann Kachula, or Miss Ann, as many call her, has been the warm, welcoming presence behind the front desk of our Basiliad Manor, also known as our library building. Her morning ritual is truly the stuff of legends. So every day she comes in and she brews her signature percolated coffee, a secret blend that even includes a splash of half and half, and usually lays out some kind of sweet treats with maybe school stickers or buttons or pens on the front counter for anyone to enjoy. Anne's always good for a cheerful good morning, how are you? Or how you doing, honey? But it's really more about that, more than just the coffee. Anne started working at Manor herself in the late 1950s and is an alum of the school. And back in the day, Anne ran the bookstore. And she ran the bookstore over in Help Hall when the building opened in 1961 and earned her degree at Manor in 1971. So she started working for the school before she earned her degree. Anne has worked under 6 college presidents, has witnessed countless transformations, and just has met thousands of people from Manor College. She seems to remember names. She seems to remember facts and information about you and your family and whatever you have going on in your life. That never ceases to amaze me, how Anne really takes the time to get to know you, ask about you, care. If you ever show her pictures of your family or whatever's going on, she loves looking at that. So her kindness and her devotion to Manor College and what truly makes Anne special and unique. So it's countless to say that she embodies what I call the Basilian spirit, making sure that everyone feels like they belong, whether you're a student, a professor, a delivery driver. She knows very well all of the delivery drivers, UPS, Postal Service, FedEx, Amazon. Many call her Manor's mom. My joke about Anne is that she found her seat as a receptionist, and then Manor was built around her, because where her area is literally at the base in the middle of our 3 buildings. So in my perspective, she is truly at the heart of our campus and is the heart. So what really makes the coffee so good? It might be a little cinnamon, but mostly it's Anne. Today's episode is sponsored by Manor College's Criminal Justice Program. Dreaming of a law career? Manor College and Widener University Delaware Law School have partnered on a fast track to your success. Get your bachelor's and Juris Doctorate in just 6 years with our 3+3 program, saving you time and money. Plus, guaranteed admissions and a minimum of $20,000 scholarship. Invest in your future and start planning today. Learn more at manor.edu. We have a truly special guest with us today, an alumni who attended Neshaminy High School, graduated from Manor College in 1990 with her associate's degree and paralegal certificate. She then went on to earn her bachelor's in business management from University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, and then got her JD from Widener University Law School. Today, she is a shareholder and member of Stark & Stark Accident and Personal Injury Group, where she concentrates her practice in representing children and adults seriously injured or killed due to catastrophic personal injuries, construction accidents, workplace accidents, and many more. She is a trial attorney who has successfully litigated personal injury matters resulting in verdicts in excess of $1 million. Please join me in welcoming Carin O'Donnell to the Nest. Welcome, Carin.
Oh, thank you for having me. I so
Thank you
appreciate
so much.
It's so nice to be back.
Yeah, no, it's so fun. We've been really enjoying talking to alumni this past year. Every Friday, we have a new episode come out, and I'm so grateful that you found time in your busy schedule to talk to us. So, kind of start us off by how did you first hear about Manor College and kind of make that decision to attend?
So my story is a little bit one of reluctance initially. So I used to be a gymnast, and so out of high school, all my friends were going to bigger schools, and I wanted to go to a big school. And because I was a gymnast, I ended up doing gymnastics at Westchester. Within a couple weeks, I injured my knee, and that resulted in me coming home and really not being able to go back to Westchester because I needed a couple surgeries. And so my mom always, even during high school, said to me, "You should go to Manor, you should go to Manor." And at that time, it was Manor Junior College. So when I say I was a little bit reluctant, all my friends were going to like bigger schools, and I was like, I didn't want to go to a small school. Like it just was kind of that like little bit of peer pressure. But I found myself at home and really not being able to go back to a bigger school because I was, I had crutches at one point and I had my leg in a brace, and just hearing my mom saying that she had such a great experience at Manor, I was like, fine, I'll go. So Manor really needed to convince me that this was a school for me, and they were able to do so like immediately. I mean, I went there, I inquired about the paralegal program, and it just kind of hooked me. I mean, there was just such a personal connection, and I already had the experience of going to a big school. And it wasn't like that at all. You were kind of dropped in the middle of a million people. They didn't know when you went to class, when you didn't. They didn't care about like what was, and I shouldn't be saying that about, I'm just saying in general, big schools.
Understood, of course.
um, it was just a different experience. It matters what I'm trying to convey. So that's kind of how I ended up at Manor. And when I say reluctant, because I uh, maybe in part didn't want to listen to my mom at that point and in that age, like so many people do when they're young. And in part, did feel a little bit of a peer pressure from just my friends and my friends group to be, at a bigger school. And it turns out it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Well, mother certainly knows best, right? I think we can attest to that sometimes, but I think your story still really resonates with a lot of high schoolers and young people today, in that like their parents want them to do one thing, they want to go with their friends and do another thing, and then life kind of gets at them, and then they end up maybe doing what their parents wanted them to do in the beginning. I love that your mom is an alum too. I think that's so cool. You guys are what we call like a legacy family, where multiple
Mhm.
generations of the same family came to the institution. So that's really special. But it's neat that you're able to have kind of both experiences in a way. Like you saw what a big school was like, and you can like see yourself what that was like and what that would do for you. But then also you saw at Manor, like, oh, this is different, and I get this attention, and I can't really slip through the cracks because they're just not going to let me do that because it is so small. I always say that at Manor, like not only we know our students' names, but we know like at least multiple facts about them. What they got going on in their life, where they work, what their dreams are, where their hometown is, and possibly more than that too. So, um,
And it does make a difference. I mean, you just feel like you're a part of a community, and you feel like you're a part of something. And I know our tagline is "You belong here," but that is so true at Manor. And when we talk about a small school, like back then it was small. I mean, Manor has come so far from, I mean, I was 1990, for gosh sakes. I mean, the things that we're doing here at Manor now are just on big school level with that smaller school, personal touch and caring. So I think it just has come so far and really gives you a combination of both.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear, and yeah, definitely, we want to be that like really homey atmosphere for people, but yet they still can succeed in big careers and have big dreams, and um, when we were coming up with our tagline for our new brand back in 2017, one of the other taglines that we didn't go with, but we kind of have used as kind of like secondary messaging was believing in you is our favorite thing to do. And even though we didn't pick it for our tagline, because I think you belong here is just kind of a nicer, more succinct way to encompass who we are, I still love that believing in you is our favorite thing to do. Because I think it's so true. Like believing in our students is truly what we're here for, and trying to help them achieve whatever they're trying to achieve. So that's so cool. So
Yeah,
tell
I
us,
mean,
go ahead.
if there really wasn't that belief in the school itself and in the programs, I really don't think that I would be where I am now. I mean, next year I'll be the president of the whole Commonwealth, the state trial lawyers. I'm a trial lawyer. I'm a partner here at Stark and Stark, and Manor really set me on that journey, into law. I mean, it really captivated me with their paralegal program. So somebody believed in me along the way, including Manor.
Yeah, of course. So why, I guess, how did you know that following a law career was something that you wanted to do? How did you know that that was kind of what you wanted to go into?
I don't know that I really knew until, my second year at Manor. Again, I kind of went into the program a little reluctant, like I didn't really want to go here. What is this all about? And to Manor's credit, at that time, paralegals were becoming like a force in the workforce. There was really like a need for paralegals, and Manor had that program. So I knew I wasn't that great at math, and I was like, okay, let's try this paralegal program. And at the time, I'm gonna name drop, but Diane Pivar started that program, and it was kind of in its infantile stages, and it was just kind of captivating for me, just the legal research and what you could do in the program itself. I mean, we learned civil procedure, we learned the whole aspect of law in that program. And then when I got my associate's degree, I had to get a bachelor's before I could go to law school. So I had to finish that. But it was kind of at that point that I knew that that's where I wanted to end up, ultimately.
Oh, that's so cool. I think, and I love that you name dropped Diane Pivar. She certainly, and when I think of like Manor, like legends, particularly like people who really have made an impact on so many, Diane Pivar is a name that certainly comes to mind. She's retired now, and we're happy for her in that retirement life, but she certainly was so influential in starting so many great programs here, paralegal being like one of the flagship ones. We now have a
Yes.
pre-law and a public
Yes.
policy. We have a pre-law and a law articulation agreement with Widener University, where I know you got your JD from, and students can take 3 years at Manor and then go 3 years at Widener for that total JD degree, which we're still working on finding students who have completed all of that, because I would love to have them on the show and have kind of that like alumni story. But that's so cool to hear, and I think that's so special that you were able to realize like, okay, I'm good at these things. I'm not good at math. Maybe I could follow this. That's good self-awareness, and I think a lot of people really struggle with knowing like what should I do and how does XYZ lead to this. It's hard. It's a hard thing to figure out.
Right.
Um,
I think it's so frustrating too, and this is another reason why I think Manor was just so, great for me, and it is just great for students in general. People in high school, they sit down with their advisors and they say, "What do you want to do in life?" And I just think it's such an unfair question, because how do you know? Like, you haven't had life experiences, right? And Manor kind of for me was like, well, what are you interested in? Like, it was a different frame. It was framed differently when I sat and met at Manor, and I was like, well, this is something I could be interested. I know I'm not interested in math because I know I'm not. So it was kind of like we ruled out things. It wasn't an approach of what do you want to do in life?
right.
Because how do you know?
Right.
So that investment in people and really getting to know people's
Mm,
interest, I think, is just something that Manor strives at.
mhm.
It's not like I sat with an advisor and they say, "What do you want to do in life?" Like, I didn't know.
Right.
I
Right.
had
And
no
there's so many
idea.
options. I mean, it's not just like, okay, doctor, lawyer, teacher. Like there's so
Right.
many things.
Right. And
Yeah.
honestly, what I thought I wanted to do, like when I went to my first school, I thought I was going to be a psychologist. Like that's what I thought because I was like, okay. And turns out that's not what I ended up doing. And it probably was not going to be a strength of mine. But if I didn't end up at Manor and had the questions kind of posed to me in that way, I
Mm-hmm.
probably would have picked something different because, like
Mm-hmm.
you said, you hear these things like,
Right.
marketing
Right. You
or,
know what you know.
yeah,
That's all. You just know what you know. You need other people to come into your life and like make you either think differently or present different options or kind of like pull it out of you, you know?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And
That's
I think
great.
that that's something and advice that I could give to students. Don't worry about where you're going to end up. Focus on what your interests are.
Mm-hmm.
And, you'll be guided by people in your life and things that'll ultimately get you there.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, that's great advice. Like follow your interest and then align careers will align with that. And you'll be
Hmm.
much happier, frankly, if you're doing something that you're interested in, opposed to just kind of following a career.
So true. So true.
That's great. So Carin, can you talk to us about like your career and I guess what is it like being a trial attorney and kind of in your role that people would find maybe interesting or they didn't really realize and kind of what is it like in a career as a full-time lawyer?
So, to answer that question, I do need to give you a little bit of history because, as I said, I went through the Manor Paralegal program. And at that time, you were required to have an internship. So, as part of the program, Manor aligned me with a law firm. And I did my internship with the law firm, and I ended up being hired there as a paralegal and worked there for several years. So, that was kind of like my first job. So ultimately, I did my undergrad. I went to the Wharton School, and then I went to Widener to complete my JD. And because of my first internship, I became interested in personal injury. Like that's what I
Mm.
did for my internship at Manor. That's what I've learned, and that's what I've stuck with. And so
Wow.
for me, my journey as an attorney was actually founded in my paralegal experience because I learned to help victims of all different types of not only injuries, but like right now I do sexual assault cases.
Hmm.
And people don't think of that in a criminal sense or in a civil sense. They only
Hmm.
think of it in a criminal sense. So on a civil side, I'm able to help victims of injuries, but it's not just like a car crash,
Hmm.
people who are devastated by things that happen to them in life. So it's been a journey. It's always, every day is different. It's always a struggle with time management and balancing life, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who does that in my career as an attorney. But you just gotta, like I said, be focused on something that you're interested in, and I think if you can do that, you'll thrive and survive and do well in whatever area you choose.
I can't believe that what you did as an internship, you know, 30 plus years ago is still, you know what I mean, what you're doing now. I think that's pretty remarkable and really cool to show that that interest really sparked in you and here you are still passionate about it. That's
Yeah,
really neat to see.
it's also neat that where I did my internship, I still talk to that firm.
Hmm.
And throughout my career, if I ever needed anything or needed guidance, I would pop in or stop in. And,
Yeah.
to this day, I think they'd probably take me back.
As an
But
intern?
as an intern or an attorney, frankly,
Right,
but,
right.
um, you know, but it just goes to say like the foundation and the work ethic that kind
Hmm.
of Manor instilled in me, has kind of made a reputation for me, so many
Hmm.
years later. So, again, it really did kind of change my trajectory in life by going to Manor.
Oh wow, that's awesome. I always love it when alumni can kind of reflect back and see that like Manor was like this foundation. You know, it was kind of like my base, my home, my foundation, and then like I built things upon that. I think that's
Hmm.
really a beautiful like picture and illustration for prospective students and students to be like, I'm living I'm living the college life right now and it's hard and I'm frustrated and some classes are harder than others, but like it's hard to see that like you're in the foundation right now. But it's good to hear it from alumni who've like been there, done that, and now can have that reflection moment.
Yeah. And for me, like, definitely build upon that. I was paralegal, and then I went and got my bachelor's degree, and then I got my law degree, and then after
Mhm.
that, I started working as a lawyer, and then eventually made partner, and now I'm in statewide organizations. I'm going to be president of that. So, I mean, you have
Right.
to build on
Right.
a good foundation, and definitely Manor was that for
Absolutely.
me.
That's awesome. So what's like a myth about lawyers that you wanna bust? What's something that people assume from like television and like popular media that like they get wrong that's really not true about lawyers? Anything that comes to mind that's kind of interesting or fun?
Um, I would like to think, especially in personal injury, I think sometimes there's a little bit of cynical, people are cynical, like, oh, you're an ambulance chaser, and, they don't really appreciate what we do. I mean, we do change lives, and we do fight for people that don't have voices. And it's really an honorable profession to be in. But, there's a lot of lawyer jokes out there, and people make fun of the profession. But, it's very empowering to be to be in court, to be a trial lawyer, to be able to, again, help someone who either didn't have a voice or didn't know how to get the help that they needed. So I think the myth is, don't make so many. I think the message should be, don't make so many lawyer jokes.
Right. It's not a joke. It's
It's
not a
not a
joke.
joke.
It's an empowering field that's changing lives. I mean, that's definitely the crux of it. It sounds like, and as a female, I mean, I think lawyers are one of those professions where it's still pretty heavily male dominated. Um, any things that you've observed over the years, how the industry is changing for the better in that sense, and how women are getting more of a voice and just getting more. There are more women attorneys.
Yeah, so there definitely is a change going on. I mean, I've been practicing now for seems like forever. And when I started practicing, I mean, I would be the only female in a room. And, I have to say, frankly, that still occurs. I'll be in a deposition and it's me versus, six men. So I do see more women coming into the field. I'm a trial lawyer, and it can be grueling. And, there is statistics that a lot of women don't want to be trial lawyers because it's just a lot of time demands. So for me, I do see some change in the legal field in general, but there's not a lot of trial lawyer
Hmm.
coming through that are women, just because it's just tough. It's just a lot of time. It's a lot of demand. I was lucky enough to have a husband who helped me balance that. When I couldn't be at something, he stepped up and there was never an issue. But you definitely need people.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a profession, I think, that you could kind of do solo. You need support for sure. So,
Yeah.
but I am grateful to see, more women getting into the field, even if it's not becoming, trial lawyers. Um, women are rising in all different kinds of areas of law.
Well, that's good. That's good that more women are doing that, and it takes a village, certainly. And it's good that you had a good marriage partner who was gonna kind of be there for you and kind of support your career. That's awesome. So, Carin, as we kind of follow up and kind of close out our episode here, what's some advice that you have for current Manor students who are in just the beginning of their journeys? What advice would you give for them?
So I think I have a couple things. I think time management should be an issue with all kinds of students. I think that's one of the biggest things that you have to learn in business, in whatever type of career. I just see more and more that people tend to, procrastinate and think they can do it. And, it's just hard to manage everything. So whatever you need to implement tools, time management for students, I think should be focused on. And I don't know that you can really teach that, right? So it's just something I think students need to be aware of. The second overall thing is your story is not going to be everybody else's story. And if your path isn't the path everyone else is taking, then that's fine, because you'll find your way. And I certainly didn't take a path that everyone else did. And I would like to say that I found my way. So when you think you're down and out, or you think that, this isn't the way it's supposed to be, for some reason you will find your way out, and it is the way it's supposed to be.
That's
So,
great.
so believe.
I love both of those. But so for time management, what's like something that works for you, or like it's a good like tip that you've learned that like, oh, this is really, really helpful?
So for me, I think you have to look at yourself, right? So for me, I'm a morning person. So for me, like, I have my to-dos in the morning. My kids, they're in college, and they can work on things at 7 o'clock at night, where that's like where their strengths are. So just kind of getting a structure that focuses on your strengths, and also be able to say to people like, no, I need to do this for me right now. I think so many times students want to take on everything, be involved in everything. It is okay to say no. Just be good at what you're doing and manage what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I always say like finding balance is really hard, but like if you just choose to like focus on, okay, I'm going to focus on this one task for 45 minutes, that's better than you half focusing on like 5 tasks at the same time.
Right.
Like really zone in, get it done, opposed to like having like, imagine having all those like open like window tabs in your mind. Like you just can't do it. Just have one tab open, focus on it, move on in the next tab.
Right. And it's okay when that tab is open to say, let me get this done right now.
Right.
Like, I will talk to you. I will get back to you. I will meet up with you. I will
Right.
be
Put
in
the
the
phone in a
library.
drawer, or, like take out the distractions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
And I love also what you said about like having your own story, following your own path. We find often that students at Manor are coming with all different backgrounds and stories. And we have a lot of students who come from transfer schools or
Yes.
community colleges, like no two students are the same. And that's good. That's what makes us different. And that's kind of what kind of enriches everybody with their own experience. It reminded me of, we just had graduation this past May, and we always have 2 student speakers at graduation. We have one that represents our associate degrees and one that represents the bachelor degrees. And it's kind of a newer tradition that we have that started when we had our first group of bachelor degree students. And I love this year, particularly the 2 student speakers were so different. One student took mostly online classes, worked full time. And she said, like, I was not here involved. I was not in the cafeteria hanging out. I was working full time, taking classes online, emailing professors, and like, that's who I was. And I love that experience. And then the other student speaker, she was involved in lots of campus activities. She was a leader on campus. She was physically present on campus, and that was her experience, and she loved it. And I kind of love these 2 different pictures of what a college student looks like at Manor, because I think it's giving permission to others. Like, you can pick your own story, what works best for you in your life, and that's a good thing.
Right. But that's exactly what Manor is. Like, both of those students felt like they belonged so much to Manor that they're speaking at graduation, and they had both completely different experiences, right? And that's okay. But I do think, there's a lot of pressure for high school students to be like, here's what you have to do, here's what you need to follow. And I think when you get to Manor and you don't have that cookie cutter student, it just opens your eyes to like, I'm going to be okay. Like, I am going to be able to do it, and I may do it a different way, but I'll do it.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. Well, Carin, thank you so much for spending time with us today. It's been really just exciting to talk to you, and I think really informative too. I think you've given a lot of good perspective on what your experience was like, but then also encouragement for to others. We really want this podcast to be informative and encouraging, and I think you hit both. And I always like to tell alumni when I talk to them, our mission at Manor College is to prepare students to graduate to serve society effectively and compassionately. And hearing about your career journey and what you're doing, you certainly are doing that. So thank you so much for fulfilling the mission of Manor College without really even realizing it, that you're doing that, and just all the great work that you're doing. It's so important. And thank you for spreading that to others who just need it.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, and I'm grateful.
Thanks for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, listen and subscribe on Spotify or YouTube, and stay up to date with all new episodes by following Manor College on Instagram at Manor College. And that's a wrap on another episode of The Nest, stories about life after Manor College. Remember, Blue Jays, you belong here always.